the purpose of the Business Credit Financing Show. This whole show was created to help make it easy for you to get the money you need and be able to actually get the training you need to be able to grow a business. And with us today is like my source. This is the guy that we send, I don't know, a lot, hundreds, if not thousands of clients to get funding. I mean, they're probably, if not the best source in the country because they're so versatile on the types of products they offer. And they offer loans and credit lines in so many different situations where a lot of people don't typically qualify. So if you want to see secretly behind the scenes, the people that help our clients get funding, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. So with us today is Joe Camberato. Now, he has a passion for helping small businesses grow, and I mean really helping them grow. So his passion has defined an entrepreneurial journey that began in a spare bedroom in 2007, where after discovering a world of private lending that few small business owners knew existed, Joe turned his fascination into a business. Its mission: understand a client's needs, match them to the right lender, do it fast and with integrity. So today is the nation's unrivaled fintech marketplace. National Business Capital and Services has secured over $1 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B in business financing and embraced a visionary focus, innovating the way entrepreneurs grow. Joe, thanks for joining me.
Hey, what's going on, Ty? Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
And, yeah, same here, man. Last time I saw you, I was up in New York. You were entertaining me at like a really cool hockey game in November. That was awesome.
Yes, and they won. The Islanders won.
It was an exciting game too. It was a close one too. I really had fun there.
It was a close one. If they would have lost, I would have been so disappointed that I brought you to that game. But I'm glad they won.
I wouldn't have known any different. Two New York teams, like I wouldn't have known any different between who won or lost.
And same here.
So what's going on, man? What's going on in the world of finance right now? A lot of people that were watching this, they are trying to get money. It's uncertain times. A lot of stuff happened with the pandemic. We were just discussing this before we got started. So give me an idea. What's happening in the lending landscape right now?
Yeah, well, it is wild times. As we're doing this, it's February 2022, coming out of the pandemic. I think that, to be honest, there's probably never been a better time to get and access money and capital for your business. It's crazy. I would have thought with all happening with the pandemic, everything paused. It was chaotic, as you know. And then things have just come back super strong. Businesses are focused. Business owners are focused. They're getting back at it. We've been getting busier and busier than ever. And lenders are highly, and just super competitive right now. And there's all types of money out there. I really would have thought that I really would have thought with the pandemic and all that happened and how it's really affected, just about everyone's business. Some people benefit from it, but the reality is most people got, seriously affected. I would have thought that lenders would have really been way more cautious and held back. But, between everything that was done, with PPP, it really helped backstop, I think, what could have been really bad. And businesses bouncing back strong, and lenders are really competitive to get back at it, make up for lost time. And rates have actually come down. Terms have gotten better. Like things that it's kind of like everything that you thought would have happened through this pandemic in like every little area. We were just having a conversation about like all these different things that have just gone, through the roof. So like the exact opposite of what would have normally happened in any other type of recession, happened. So it's just really weird. So on the lending side, it's picked back up super strong, and it's really, really competitive. Like I said, never been a better time to access financing for your business.
What do you think about inflation? How's inflation going to change all this? Because you said rates are down, but usually with inflation, we typically see them go up. Is that why you think it's such a great time right now? Because rates are still low, but potentially could continue to climb in the months, years to come?
Well, it's a great question. It's really been coming up a lot. It's a hot topic right now, obviously. I think a few things. One, I think that inflation was already happening, and it was already happening below our noses. No one really realized it. I mean, if you just look back at the price of things over the last few years, you can see that they were steadily going up. COVID obviously fast forwarded that because, people from cities moved out to suburbs, drove the prices up. And then, things stopped being, made. Luxury items like, cars, watches. We were just talking about some of the stuff that have just gone through the roof because, there's supply and demand. So I think some of the inflation will cool off, but I think we were kind of due for that. I mean, even if you look at like the housing prices in the housing market, it took so long from the 08-09 crash. Like it was due for a run anyways. And COVID, I think, just fast forward that. But to answer your questions on rates, I think rates are going to come up. Again, they've been so low, historically low. So they, in a way, kind of need to come up. But if they go up 0.25%, 0.5%, 1%, even if they go up 2%, it's really more focused on real estate. It will, probably trickle out a little bit on the business side. But I think the reality is, if 1% is making a difference in your opportunity in your business, you probably shouldn't be borrowing money anyways, or should really rethink how you're utilizing money, or relook at your business. Like how do you run more efficient, and how do you maximize profits better? So that's my take on that.
What about loans? You mentioned a lot of different kind of loans. What are some of your favorite loan programs right now?
Revolving lines of credit are really great. There are some great products out there where you don't need real estate to access a revolving line of credit, purely on the cash flow of your business. Term loan products have gone out to 2 years and even 36 months. Rates have dropped there. Equipment finance deals, like if you're buying equipment, heavy machinery, trucks, recycling equipment, furnishing a new office, medical, doing a rebuild, 5 years, super low rates, 4%, 5%, 6%. And then SBA deals, a 7A, working capital loan, rates are like prime plus 1% to 3%. So prime rates, 3.25% right now, you're looking at 4.25% to 6 or 7%, somewhere, in that range, depending on what you get approved for. Really inexpensive money. People are using SBA loans to buy businesses, acquire businesses. You only need to put down 10%. So really cool product there. I think all around, I built a platform, and obviously, this, Ty, but for folks listening, on our platform at National Business Capital, there's 75 different lenders. So we have everything from SBA to lines of credit to business term loans to equipment financing to SBA to inventory credit lines and account receivable and ABL. So, we have everything. We work with, companies just getting started, doing a few $100,000 to $1 million in sales, up to $20 million plus in sales. So, we work with all types of businesses in all shapes, and it really just depends on what you're looking to get accomplished. And I see a lot of business owners that, if they need to buy a piece of equipment, they're like, everyone always thinks, if I need money, let me get a line of credit. That's kind of like our human nature, and which a line of credit's great. But I see, people, they want to go buy a piece of equipment and they want to use a line of credit or a term loan. And the reality is, you can just finance that piece of equipment with a specific equipment lender over 5 years, monthly payments, super low rates. But what that does is it doesn't lock up your cash flow, and you can leave it open for like a term loan or a line of credit. So it's really important that, like, what you're looking to use, the money for or the financing for, that you're utilizing the right product for it, so you don't jam yourself up later down the road. And it's super important, whether you work with me or somebody else, is that you're working with someone that has access to all those products, more importantly, understands all those products and can explain those different products to you and understand what your need or opportunity is and how to match you with that right product. That's really, really important. A lot of people don't understand that.
So how do people get a gauge of that? Like how does a layperson that doesn't have the knowledge, experience that, you and I do, how do they figure out what kind of product to even start looking into, what kind of product they work?
Well, it's definitely, it's not an easy answer, and that's why I say, give us a call and we'll talk you through it. We'll have a real conversation, a detailed conversation, because it really needs a phone call. It needs a conversation of like, and we got to go through some questions. They're not hard to answer. It's just questions about your business and your opportunity. But the reality is, there's so many different funding options. There's so many lenders. I kind of make a joke, and I started the company in 2007, which is crazy. It's 15 years ago now. Lenders weren't even online. Like, they didn't even have websites. A lot of the private lenders, so,
yeah,
it's like, and that's why I started, because I realized, it was so challenging for business owners to get financing at a bank. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And there were private lenders out there that were just, business lending focused. They're not checking and savings banks. And they actually could get your deal done. and just owners just didn't, they got turned out from bank. They had no clue where to go. So I said, let me like pull all these lenders together and understand all the different products and be able to, talk it through and be like that business consultant. And, fast forward today, now we have 75 lenders on the platform, streamlined the technology. We've got great people here that can have those conversations with you. But the big problem today is you go online, you search for business lending, and a million things come up now. So now now there's like too many options. And you literally could be a doctor that has 750 plus credit, which is great credit, in business for 10 years, great cash flow, great business. You can go to one lender and, get approved, and you go to another lender, get approved. And those approvals could be way different. The rates could be way different, dollar amounts, time to repay. So it's really important, never mind just whether you need a term loan or a credit line or an SBA or equipment financing, never mind just determining what actual product you need. Then it's super important that you get to the right lender. And that's why we have to have all of these lenders on our platform. And every month we fund all over the place with all of them, because they're constantly changing their guidelines. They're constantly adjusting. And we see so much volume that we know where to, place customers' applications with. But it's ever changing for us. Like, we have to keep up with it. And the reality is, you're a business owner. You're good at your business. Most business owners don't really get and understand financing, and that's okay. They're great at what they do. And that's why you have to pull in an expert, just like you'd pull in an accountant, or a lawyer or any other consultant for anything in your business,
Yeah. And it's just so important, especially in business lending, because you talk about that with approvals, but I see the same true with denials. Whereas, somebody comes in, they have stocks, bonds, 401ks, equipment, inventory, something they could have got money lent to them based on. But then, they don't have cash flow because they're a new business, and somebody can't get them denied, or somebody denies them when they could have got approved somewhere else, or somebody just has consistent cash flow and that's it. Their credit's horrible. Then they walk into their bank. Their bank says, we can't help you. And then they just believe they can't get money when they could go to you and easily get money based on their cash flow. Or, they're trying to get a credit line for their bank to buy a piece of equipment. Their bank won't help them when they think they're done, when there's equipment financing you're offering. So that's what I find is there's so many different products and lenders, and none of them say online what they do. Like, you can't go to On Deck and see that they only lend money based on cash flow. Like, none of them tell you just clearly, this is who we can help and who we can't. So then you go through this process of time. Then maybe they call you back. Maybe they don't call you back. Like, to even try to get an idea of what you may get. And then, like you said, then you could be getting something that's terms are way worse than what you could have got if you would have went to the right source, right product.
That's exactly right. I mean, we're almost like a yoga company. And I say that jokingly, meaning like, we just like eliminate aggravation and frustration. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like coming to us, we're just here to save you time and frustration. It's fatiguing. And, who has the time to shop around at 5 or 10 lenders? Never mind, even like 1 or 2, it's time consuming. And each one of them have a little bit of different process, a little bit of a different, documentation that they need. And then some will ask you for all this documentation, but you really only need like a few things to actually get like pre-qualified, so it's frustrating. It's the whole reason why I founded the company.
Okay. So business funding, Yogi, I got a question for you. Speaking of which, what does it take to qualify? Like, what do we look at? Like, if I want to come in and get a loan, then what are some stuff I just need? Like, you're like, oh gosh, like if these people would just do these things, like do they know how they would radically increase their chance of getting approved? Like, what are those like, oh, I just wish they would do those things that you want business owners to know about?
Yeah. So, I mean, the bare minimum, we love to see businesses in business for at least 1 year. We've gotten companies, $1 million plus credit lines that have been in business for under a year, but they had, they hit the ground running, and they had, serious cash flow. The real main thing is that you've got sales coming into the business. 1 year, time in business, at least $10,000 to $20,000 a month. These are just bare minimums. But I think the most important thing is that you've got cash coming in, but you are keeping some balances in your bank account. It's super, super important. It's also super important to, if you can, stay focused on your credit. And some business owners building their businesses sacrifice their credit. We get that. We can still help them, and then we'll really focus on their opportunity and cash flow. But really paying attention to cash flow, keeping your cash flow really good. If you're going to look for up to like $250,000 today, you only really need like 3 to 6 months of your business bank statements and an application. Some lenders may ask for your most recent tax return, some won't. Some may want financials, some won't. But for sure, if you're looking for past $250,000, you got to have your financials together, your profit, loss, and balance sheet. So it doesn't need to be done like up to yesterday, but it's got to be like right now. We would definitely need your financials for at least up to last year. If January's wasn't done yet, we're in February. That's okay. And we'll usually need last year. Sometimes we'll need the last 2 years, right? So have your financials in order. It's super important. It's also important for you as a business owner. Your tax return, just have your docs ready to go. It'll make it easier. And I recommend just keeping those, in a special folder. So, because the reality is when opportunities come up, or a challenge, it's like you need money for two reasons. You've got an opportunity, you've got a challenge. So I like to say, like, have all that stuff ready, even if you don't need it. So if opportunity strikes or a challenge comes up out of nowhere, it's business, things happen, like you can just go and you don't need to like circle back to your bookkeeper to get caught up on the financials and then you miss an opportunity, so that's super, super important. If you've got great credit, 680, 700 plus, we can finance equipment and we don't really focus on sales. So we can get really, focused with great credit, credit if you're buying, trucks, machinery, any type of quality piece of equipment, we can look to finance that and not really need a whole bunch of financial info, all the way up to about 100, 150 and 250,000 for really strong credit. So there's some interesting, cool products out there that are actually, pretty easy when presented the right way and packaged up the right way to the lender.
A lot of people come to you, been turned down, you turn around to get them approved. Why did people get turned down? Like, what are the most common reasons that are people getting people denied, and then you come to them and you're able to help get them approved?
I guess one of the biggest things is really going to the wrong lender. Every lender's got different guidelines, and some love and focus on certain industries, and then some don't favor certain industries. Like some of the biggest brand names out there, and again, they don't put this stuff on their website, but you might be construction, contracting, and a lot of lenders don't like construction contracting. And then there's some lenders that love it, they get it. They'll go above and beyond for contractors and constructions, and they want to have a simple conversation, understand what you're looking to use the money for, but they love them. There's lenders that have really favorable, great pricing and products for anything medical, like doctors, dentists. And then there's other lenders that will approve you, but the terms won't be as favorable because they just don't have they just don't go out long term, or they can't get to the low rate that usually most doctors are looking for. So so it's really a big part of it is just getting to the right lender. And then the other biggest thing that we see where people are declined is there was some sort of an issue that happened, and we get that, and most business focused lenders will get that. So even though we have a fintech platform and we love technology, and we use technology to streamline everything, we are still very hands-on and put focus on great people here that can understand your business, have a really solid conversation with you, but more importantly, have a solid conversation with our underwriters. And we have amazing relationships that we've built for the last 15 years with multiple different lenders. And a lot of it is understanding, the challenge, what happened. So we get what happened, but more importantly, what are we doing to fix that? And where are you going? What's the opportunity ahead? And once we kind of like understand all that and can kind of piece together the story and paint the picture, we'll actually get on the phone with an underwriter and explain what happened. And we have a very big success with turning things around. So it's still fintech, but there's still this hands-on relationship, based type of lending where, you got to sometimes, like, a lot of lenders now have these algorithms. So like you submit things, and if this happens, if this happens, if this happens, denied. And then you like look at it and you're like, yeah, that happened, but look at what's happening right now. And the algorithm didn't account for that. So you have to have a conversation. Someone's manually got to look at it. So, and a lot of lenders that you'll go to directly, they're not really set up and designed to handle, believe it or not, working with clients. They work a lot of times with consultants and brokers, and rely on them to bring that information to the table. So, sometimes actually going direct is not the best thing as a business owner to a lender.
Yeah. Being a mortgage broker, I don't think anybody should ever go directly to a lender. The reality is having somebody that's knowledgeable in between, it just makes so much more sense, because first of all, it usually costs you nothing. It's cheaper to use that person because the person knows things you don't know to get your application in the door. You do considerable volume, right? So if I'm going in to apply to a bank that you're sending millions and millions to every month, you're going to get better pricing than me. It's just the way that it is. But there's all kinds of stuff lenders need to know and they shouldn't know. Not stuff you're hiding, but there's just additional details that are completely not in your favor to provide when they're not needed. And, being somebody that like you that deals with all these lenders direct can say, do this, don't do that. And I imagine, I haven't seen the stats, but the percentage of approvals has to be radically higher that way than going direct to the lender.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, like, to your point, we complete hundreds of transactions per month. We do significant volume. So, we have the attention of all of our lending partners. And we also, because we know exactly who to ask the question to and where to go.
Right.
And a lot of times, especially now, like you go into a bank, and no disrespect to bankers, but a lot of the bankers at the branches today, and it's not their fault. It's not that they're incapable. It's that they're disconnected from underwriting. Like there's no connect, like they don't even allowed to talk to the underwriters, or, like my local banker here, like underwriting's done in Texas, I'm in New York. So, and they don't really understand. They're not get any of that information.
No.
And so, the same thing with you. Sometimes you go to direct to lender, the person that you're on the phone with doesn't really know. When we're doing volumes, we know exactly where to go, who to have the conversation with, what docs to ask for, what's a waste of time. And more importantly too, like one of the biggest things I think that makes us successful is knowing where not to submit deals to. Like we're just wasting our time with, like, there's 75 lenders on the platform. We're not submitting your application to 75 lenders. That would be insane. Plus, every lender would hate us. Like your conversion rates would be horrible.
Yeah, it would be,
so, we submit to, like if, like two to 3, and then, and then the next round of 2 to 3, so, and usually at that point we've kind of nailed it. So, knowing where not to go is just as important as knowing where to go.
Yeah. And a lot to unpack. There's a lot going on. Like you said, in the banking industry, the banks don't let underwriters talk to bankers. People that go to bankers and use them don't understand this, because they're worried that, the banker to the underwriter, and then they're going to get bad files. They didn't let them communicate. And, what you do is the opposite. It's all relationships. You're building relationships with not just banks, but the underwriters that underwrites those files to get all kinds of exceptions and deals done that would never get done if you're not involved. I spent 2 decades in this industry, and that's the way it works. Like it's all relationships, and you're able, because of your relationship, to get a lot of stuff done that somebody applying on their own would never get done on their own. You have to see that happen all the time. You and I both seen situations, I think with you, where I've sent customers to you guys. You've sent the customer to a lender that they got denied for, and then you got somebody approved when they literally got denied to the exact same source.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like, it's just, it's so important of knowing, it's just having the conversation, being able to point things out. And I think, The reality is there's you really have to get on the phone, because there's in business lending, there's guidelines, but it's very hard for those guidelines to be like cemented in black and white, because there's so many different compensating factors that could happen in business
Yeah.
that really make sense.
Right.
And you can't uncover that with an algorithm. You have to like get on the phone and talk it through with the customer. And yeah, of course, listen, there's people all the time that, what they're saying doesn't make sense or line up, then that's a different story. But when it makes sense and it lines up, and you can see that there is this one-off hiccup that happened that threw off their cash flow last month. We've had situations where, they're like, if a lender sees, you did $100,000 a month, $100,000 a month, and then last month it would drop to 25,000. Instantly, their algorithm goes decline, like cash flow dropped, red flag, right? And then you like get on the phone, you're like, yeah, we had a hurricane here last month, and I was closed for 3 weeks, and it was devastating. And
right.
we just got power back. Like literally, that's a story, And you're like, oh my God, and we're so sorry that happened. That makes complete sense. Can you just send us like your sales month to date? Let us look at that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's pull the underwriter in. Google search. Oh my God, there was really a hurricane there, and that's like a silly example, but like that.
But it's very true. And that's the whole
happens.
thing that people,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you said people don't understand. First of all, a layperson doesn't understand compensating factors. And it's why you shouldn't go directly to a source. You should always use somebody like you, because you do. You're able to go in and look at a deal, and they're like, well, I don't like this deal because of A, B, C, D. And you're like, yeah, but look at EFG, right? And they don't see that, unless you've got somebody in there to get that done. The other thing that it's interesting that you point out, and I say this all the time, is that this is computers. Computers are doing this underwriting in a lot of cases. And the issue there is that when they do a decline, for a person to manually override that decline, that puts them in a really bad position job security wise, right? So they're not going to be inclined, if you call Bank of America and say, why do you turn down my deal, for them to overturn that. But again, if you have a relationship where you're sending them $10 million of business a month, they're going to take the time to take a second look at that file. All the time, I found historically, there's just so many reasons you just way better off to have somebody that has your best interest in between than the lender direct.
100%. And we also know when to not, push things. So when we are like bringing things to the light, to the surface, people listen, because we usually bring things that make sense and that it's worth looking at, which, lenders appreciate, underwriters appreciate. But, a silly thing, and I think it's important for everyone to know, like, we don't get paid. We don't charge any upfront fees or anything like that. No gimmicks, no upfront fees. If we don't complete your financing, we don't get paid. It's really that simple. So, we're a true advocate for you. We're on your side. We work for you. We respect our lending partners, but we want to help you get the deal done. I mean, that's what we're incentivized to do. That's why we're here.
Well, Joe, thanks for coming on. I wish I had more time. You're coming on my live stream tomorrow, so we'll have to spend about twice the time we have today. But where can everybody go? Anybody that's watching that wants to get approved for loan, credit line, money to fund their business, where can they go?
Yeah. So if you want to check us out online, you can go to nationalbusinesscapital.com. Again, that's nationalbusinesscapital.com. And you could check me out and follow me at Grow by Joe. I'm constantly putting stuff out on YouTube. A ton of videos, so check that out, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
I'm going to add that in the show resources too. Okay, thanks again, man, for coming in. It's always so much fun to have you on and to talk to you.
Right back at you. It's always good to hang, to talk, to see you, and love what you're doing, man. You're rocking and rolling. Always appreciate everything you got going on, your podcast and everything else. So keep doing what you're doing, Ty.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So listen, if you're watching this, you're obviously listening, tuning in, watching, because you're looking for money. And this is my source. Like, this is one of the biggest sources, if not the biggest source, that we send most of our files to. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the service is ridiculous. It's so good. And nowadays you're in a world where if you don't qualify, they won't even, you might not qualify. You might get turned down. They won't even talk to you. And, they'll spend time with you explaining, hey, here's your options. Here's the best way to go. Don't do this, do this. It's just the service they offer. Their service we offer is so high end that our customers have that expectation. When we send it to a lot of lenders, they're disappointed, they're upset. And then as a result of that, they're not happy with us, right? But what's nice about Joe and what's nice about National Business Capital is we can send files to them and our customers are happy. They love it. They love the way they're treated. And that's an important part of it is dealing with somebody that you really enjoy, because you're not going to just go to get a loan or credit line. You're going to go back again and again and again, right? If the relationship's good, you're going to go back for more and more funding. But the other thing I love is they get deals done. They just get stuff done. And they get stuff done because what you might not realize is that there's less than a handful of these companies that are really good in the country that deal with more than one or two kinds of loan products. It blows me away. I don't know why, but there's less than a handful. And Joe's the top of the handful. So what happens is if you go to a bank and you don't have the one thing they're looking for, they deny you when there's a million other things that could have got you approved. Joe referred to as compensating factors. With Joe, they work with so many different kind of loan programs. It's not the number of lenders, it's the types of loan programs they work with. So what this means is it means oftentimes they get people approved that normally wouldn't get approved or have been denied at other sources. Also, I see them get people approved for more money, because sometimes our clients will go over and get 2 or 3 different approvals with programs. They didn't even think they could get approved for anything. And they come in, we send them over there to National, and then all of a sudden they're getting approved for 2 or 3 different products. So being able to have really good customer service where people are happy, very important. And the second thing is actually getting deals done, getting more approvals and getting approvals at better rates from higher amounts of money. All are things we've consistently seen in the years that we've been working with National Business Capital. So make sure you check out nationalbusinesscapital.com. That's nationalbusinesscapital.com. Also, make sure you follow Grow by Joe as I do on his social channels. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of great educational stuff there. And look, if you're even thinking about getting money now or in the future, give National Business Capital a call. Just give them a call. You can go to their website. You can fill out a form online. You can do a bunch of things there to be able to get in touch with them and then start the process, because same day you can get an answer. And sometimes same day you can even get an approval, or within 3 days or less, you oftentimes can, depending on the program. So go to nationalbusinesscapital.com right now to inquire, get with them to learn a little bit more about all the financing you can get for your business. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to visit